welcome to Arts and Culture by Rolling Out. I'm Vera, your host. Today we're sitting down with someone who's making a real impact in Atlanta's creative community. Jai McClendon Jones is the founder and artistic director of Area Atlanta, a space where dance, discipline, and self-expression comes together to shape young lives. So welcome to the one and only Jai McClendon Jones. Hi, Jai.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
So you've long championed the transformative power of the arts. And how do you define the value of the arts in shaping the identity of young people and communities?
For me, and I guess if I'm kind of positioned around my ethos, the arts and wellness aren't really truly separate. They are both like truly essential tools to shape confident, purpose-driven leaders. I mean, the arts is not just about being a dancer or, theater artist or, creative artist, whatever you may call it. My work truly centers on empowering youth to pre-professionals to adults to thrive artistically, professionally, and most importantly, holistically. I believe that when we pour into people's creativity, their emotion, and as I see myself as an entrepreneur and entrepreneurial growth, just self-development, independent growing, building the next generation of change makers. So through Area, I've created this platform that just doesn't train talent, but we also develop whole individuals equipped to lead, innovate, and be balanced in success and in their overall well-being.
So what inspired you to create Area Atlanta, and how has your vision evolved ever since its founding?
Woo! So I grew up in dance and the arts. I really didn't have a choice. My mom had a dance studio, and it was one of the most notable ones here in Atlanta, Georgia. And through her studio, I had that opportunity to be exposed to some of the best in dance. I mean, some of the most notable companies, artists, choreographers, directors. And then we were also housed in what was called the Arts Exchange here in Atlanta. So it was a melting pot of arts and creativity. I mean, it floated around on all sides and facets. So I was really blessed to be able to be impacted and cultured and nurtured in a very safe and great space with the arts. And then I would say my mom used me as a guinea pig. She wanted to make sure what we were learning was equipped and on par with what was going on in the rest of the world. So I had that opportunity to go and train outside of just her studio, but around Atlanta. It was some of the most notable, especially ballet studios. And that really kind of took me in a deeper dive of my love and passion for dance. I'm pretty disciplined. I'm pretty motivated. I'm a girl that's a go-getter. But it makes you kind of test your limitations, especially when you go outside of your comfortable space. And so for me, that kind of led me to a different space. Being a one and only, diverse girl in the room, it was very unique for me to be able to be in that space and then come home where it was like family for me. So as I began to mature and matriculate, through school and, my family is either arts or education. So arts was super important and priority, and education was just as important. So then when it came to that opportunity for college, I had that choice to say, hey, do I want to just go to New York City, pack my bag and go and pursue and being an artist? Or do I want to go to college? And I chose just to go to college. My family our legacy is through Clark Atlanta University. So I went to Clark Atlanta University with a full honors scholarship, where I had the opportunity to major in business administration with a concentration in marketing while still dancing and doing everything on a professional platform. So I was equipped on both sides. I was just not only properly trained and equipped as a skilled dancer or as an artist, but then also too, I had that backing as well with business and understanding how that kind of forms us to understanding who you are as your own business and forming that to being maybe a little bit more global with opening that door to others. So I would say that was the formation of Area. I left Atlanta, I went on, pursued and did great things, but I always wanted to come home. I'm homegrown. And so I wanted to make sure if I established anything, it would be in my home. And that was Atlanta. And so that's how Atlanta's resource for entertainment and arts was formed, Area, with our nonprofit vertical, Area Nonprofit. And since then, it's just been totally about making sure to create that holistic space, but also that 360 space that allows for people to come into our doors and feel like their area is their space of no limitations. It should feel like home, but then also too, where you feel comfortable to be stretched, to be nurtured, to be equipped, and to be provided the proper tools to just mosey on in your life, whether it is as a dancer or a performing artist, or just, a Wonder Woman or a Wonder Man. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you choose in life, as we say, our area has no limits.
What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in sustaining area, and how did you overcome them?
Oh my. One of the biggest things oftentimes that we have to overcome is ourself. Just believing
Yeah.
and knowing why you're doing what you're doing. Because once you decide to make a decision, it's always not so easy to stick with it. We always have the
Yeah.
choice to say, hey, I'm going to try it out. And if it doesn't work, but it doesn't work that way as much when you are an entrepreneur and you're trying to, you're investing into a business and you're, sacrificing time, money, and effort into something. You don't just want to give it up. And so I would say that was one of the biggest things I had to overcome, was just trusting myself and believing in myself and knowing that I was well equipped. And then also giving myself grace to make mistakes, to, create a strategy, a mission and vision, but then also to know that will never change. But those key focuses of, thoughts or targets that I had might have to adjust a little bit.
Mm.
Making sure I was very clear on who my target demographic was, and staying true to my effort and work of not seeing anyone else or any other entity or organization as competition, but seeing it as a resource, as what Atlanta is for me, or Atlanta's resource for entertainment arts with area, and seeing them as a resource and as an extension, as an additional piece of greatness that's here in Atlanta, that's doing great things in their own space, in their own way. It's not at all anything for me to look at as a challenge or competition. And then I'll also say, just being a Black female in this space, and doing it with a standard of excellence. I'm a woman that's about, I can meet you on the floor, or I can meet you at the boardroom, when the board tables, And so being able to translate that is not typically often times that you meet someone who's very skilled and knowledgeable in dance, especially in the elements of classical ballet, or, those more concert dance spaces, as we so call it. But then also too can speak quite eloquently, and I know my stuff, and I'm very intentional and very purposeful and very knowledgeable about what I'm speaking about. So oftentimes they kind of are caught off guard. And so, I would say that was a challenge for me that I had to overcome very early on, and just knowing my calling, the reason of my why, and why I deserve to be sitting at that same table.
Yeah. So speaking of resources, how did your partnership with Alvin Ailey come about, and what impact has it had on your students and the larger Atlanta arts community?
Oh my goodness. So, Alvin Ailey has always been that guiding light for us in dance. Again, at my mom's studio, I had the opportunity to meet and really witness and be around in a very authentic way, way beyond just seeing them on the stage. Oftentimes, we see artists or professionals and we see them in one lens, because we idolize them, we're a fan, but I had that opportunity to also be in a much more sincere, authentic place with them, because I saw them like, aunties and uncles and, like family. And so being in those spaces with them also to, increase my passion and my desires to pursue the arts in a very unique way, and not just feel as if I had the opportunity and I studied and I trained and I did a lot of work with Alvin Ailey before, but I never felt as if I had to be that girl on the stage touring with the company. I always felt that, hey, I would want to have even a deeper relationship now with whomever is the executive director, the directors of the different departments. And that's just kind of how it formed, being in my position of area. I have the opportunity to be in certain spaces. And because of my work being very holistic and intentional, I had the opportunity to meet who I call my sister friend, Miss Lisa Johnson Willingham, who is the director of Ailey Extension. And we hit it off immediately. Alvin Ailey has always done great work here in Atlanta at the Fox Theater and amongst the community, but she and I shared that same ethos and that same vision of making sure that we continue to, share Mr. Alvin Ailey's philosophy of giving dance back to the people. And so, yeah, we have area, as our brick and mortar, but we've always been intentional about going to the community. And so with that relationship with Alvin Ailey, oh my gosh, flashing big lights, of having that name with Alvin Ailey, it allows you just to graciously walk through doors, and it's a high level of respect and standard that comes with that. But guess what? We had to match it too, because we couldn't not just be sitting there with Alvin Ailey unless we matched that same standard. So this year, we were super excited to celebrate our 10th anniversary with our partnership with Alvin Ailey. Boom, 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 boom. And, through our impact, we've touched tens of thousands of folks. From ages 6 all the way up to, aspiring, adults. Let's just call it that. Yeah. It's not just about folks that are just knowledgeable or trained, but we open the door for everybody to try. We've also host panel discussions and conversations and talkbacks and meet and greets. Even through the pandemic, we did not stop our effort. We continued forth with our work, and we're very diligent about maintaining this extremely special relationship that we have with Alvin Ailey. We nurture it, we tend to it, and I could not be more appreciative to have such a great friend and partner in crime with me with doing the effort as I have with Lisa.
So how do you ensure that area remains inclusive, accessible, and relevant for young creatives across Atlanta?
Well, let me speak about this. First, we're not just training dancers. We're developing disciplined, confident young people who understand leadership, collaboration, and resilience. And, through what we do with Area Performs, representation matters. It's very important. So, we ensure that we are seen, we're celebrated, and we given that same space to share our stories and take ownership of our own narrative, and making sure that we demonstrate and show that everyone has that opportunity to form their own unique area. They don't have to fit into anyone's mold. They can create their own. And that's what we are very much about. Also, with our pillar of area outreach, extending access and inspiration. We are very intentional about reaching people who may not otherwise have that opportunity to see or feel the arts in that special, unique way. So whether it be in our partnership with Alvin Ailey, we went all in and around every side of the compass, from the north to the south, to the east to the west of Atlanta and Metro Atlanta, to be very impactful. Outreach is where seeds are planted and confidence begins. We want to make sure that our work, is limitless. It's in a space that, is not just, you can't quantify it. You can't just put it in one little bubble. We want to be what we say, our area has no limits.
Okay, so in what ways do you think the arts can serve as a tool for healing and empowerment in underserved communities?
For me, the arts is holistic. It truly is. I believe it's multi-dimensional. You have to be very authentic when you are in a space like I'm in. You have different businesses, and that's their business model. That's perfectly fine. But I'm all the way in. I have to be very vulnerable. I can totally tell when a child comes in, if they possibly have a disability. I can tell if they have confidence issues. I can tell if a mom is maybe off balanced. I can tell if, there's something else going on that we might need to give a little bit more attention to. It's not, again, just about the 5, 6, 7, 8. It's about the holistic whole being development of the person that you're working with, and making sure that you nurture it. You tend to it. You can't just think, oh, You just come to class. I'm just going to teach you some ballet, tap, and jazz. And maybe, again, another business model focus on that, but not for us. If you're learning the skill, you also learn how it impacts you and makes you feel like you are a whole, well-rounded person who is a leader, innovator, and a person that's trying to fulfill your purpose in life. Because, again, we may not be creating today the next notable dancer for Alvin Ailey, but maybe this same person that's in this class now has more belief and commitment to themselves and more self-esteem and more drive to understand that their divine call is whatever it may be in some, respective industry down the road. So for me, that's also another reason too, where I created what I call now is called Bossed Up and Balanced. And this is just this passion project that I developed just outside of the arts. And it's about now, Area's main and primary focus is youth training and development, youth and teen development, and young adult. But now with Bossed Up and Balanced, I said, listen, I am a growing woman. We won't say aging. I am growing, I'm becoming wise. But at the same time, I want to make sure that women also understand, whether it be an artist, entrepreneurs, moms, leaders, that we have to maintain success without sacrificing ourselves. And when I say you're a boss, I'm not just talking about being a boss at work. I mean, women are bosses at home. You're a boss mom, you're a boss wife, but we have to make sure that we stay balanced. And within that balance of the day as well, that pillar of Bossed Up and Balanced, I created Jai Works, which is a more dance, fitness, and lifestyle pillar to help individuals find balance, strength, and just the joy of just connecting dance or the arts together. Because, oftentimes we get burnt out, overwhelmed, or disconnected. And again, we have to go back to our why as well. So again, holistically, I'm just about touching the whole person. And I can't just touch the kid now. I feel as if it's necessary to also touch older, aging, more wiser women too.
Yeah, it is. So what roles does mentorship play in your leadership, and how are you preparing the next generation of artists and leaders?
Mentorship is very important. I had great mentorship growing up myself, whether it been from my mom, my grandma, to, other folks I call God moms that, were super critical for me. One of the beauties of Area as well is that being homegrown means that we are forming from within and forming out. So as being a mentor, I'm very intentional to make sure that the students that we have also have a connection back to the younger generation. So they come and they assist, they're teaching artists, they're learning along the way. So it's not, they're just learning the skill, they're learning how to teach. Because if you learn how to teach it, then that can empower and make sure you're more appreciative of the time, energy, and effort that somebody else is giving to you. And then also too, it teaches you how to be a active listener and learner along the way as well. Because if you can teach it, then that means that you can actually actively execute it, So I'm very much intentional about making sure that those that are coming up within our area pipeline are mentored. And I'm a very important, critical part of that mentorship. In fact, a lot of our staff has been raised in the area. Those folks that we have in the community, the people, I'm very a part of building the next generation and being that mentor and the servant leader to give back. You can't just hold on to all your goodies. It's no need if you just hold it all tight for yourself. You have to share. And I'm a big person about sharing and giving back. And most importantly, to build and equip. I believe I'm a type of leader that I lead with respect and not with fear. And with that level of respect, that means you have to also know how, as a leader, to become a listener, know how to sit back and allow somebody else to voice an opinion or give a suggestion, or maybe not just take constructive bad criticism, but be able to take criticism as well. So it helps make you be a better person. So mentorship is very important, and another important element of what we do for Area and with Area.
Yeah, giving back is really, really important.
Yeah.
So can you complete this statements for me? I'm going to read some statements and you help me complete them. The first one, the moment I knew Area was making a real impact was when?
The moment I knew area was making a real impact was when, I mean, immediately when I opened my doors in 2009. I mean, not trying to, toot my own horn, but when it's about manifestation. I put good out and I knew I was ready. I was equipped. So as soon as our doors opened in 2009, folks came in. In addition to, this was the time during when the housing market was going down. I mean, it was a bad time of the day with the lay of the land. And so we opened in 2009. And so, I knew then and there, oh, okay, God, I trust you and you equipped me and I'm ready. And so I knew that was my divine call. And I knew it was exactly as it was supposed to be in 2000 when area opened its doors.
Okay, so the second one is, if there's one thing I want every student to walk away with, it's?
Oh, gosh, how do you form that? Oh, one thing I would want every student to walk away with is they are enough. They are enough.
Yeah.
They are equipped, they are ready, they are limitless. They are special, they're divine. I mean, they are enough. How God and how your divine, person, however you feel, formed you or made you, you are enough. Now it's up to you to define that full person of who you really are. Because for me, it doesn't just stop. Oh, you're enough. No, not all the time. Because sometimes you can feel you're enough is when you're just comfortable. So, I feel as if we have to be okay with stretching ourselves to our limitations or outside of any limitations to be limitless. So I would just say maybe you are enough without any limitations. Don't put limitations on yourself.
Yeah, it's important. So 5 years from now, I hope area will be known for?
5 years from now, oh, we're not going into our 16 years. So that would be what, 21st year? Look at that, all grown and legal.
All grown.
Okay, all grown and legal. Look at us. We would just be known for being a major impact, a change factor or a change maker by way and through the power of the arts. I mean, as simple as that.
Okay. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story, your passion, and the incredible work you're doing so far with area. So your commitment to uplifting the next generation through the arts is powerful and deeply appreciated. So thank you for joining us. And to our audiences, I just want to say thank you for joining us on this conversation on arts and culture. We hope it inspired you as much as it inspired us. So stay connected, stay creative, and as always, thank you for rolling with us. Thank you, Jay.
My pleasure. Everybody take care. Thank you so much.